better turn the mic on. We're good to go? All right. Call the meeting to order. Good afternoon, everybody. We're missing some folks. The Deputy Mayor is not with us. Councillor Walsh not with us. A couple of our senior staff also out of the province on assignment, and I think we've got one off sick today as well. One off sick and one that should be by the conditions around the office. This flu is going everywhere, by the way. I know nobody wants it, but we call it the flu. But this cold is going everywhere. We don't have a weighty agenda, so hopefully we'll be able to get through it with some efficiency. The first thing we're going to do is call for a motion to accept the agenda as it has been presented with the attachments outside. Moved by Councillor Stoyle, seconded by Councillor Tessier. Any other additions to add other than the invoices for approval? Mr. Lush, I'm assuming that this is coming forward today as well? Okay, the technical services report. Anything else? Hearing none, we'll call it. All in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried. We'll move to the minutes of our meeting of April 20th. Motion to accept the minutes as presented, moved by Councillor Lane, seconded by Councillor Aker. Are there any errors or omissions from the meeting of April 20th? Errors or omissions only? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried. From the business arising from the minutes of the meeting of April 20th. Any business, Councillor Lane?
Yep. There's a couple of quick ones just to tidy it up for the purpose of the minutes. 275 ramp from the Outer Ring Road. That, of course, is the ramp that comes off the Outer Ring Road and ends up at Kenmount and McNamara Drive.
Yep.
And just as a follow-up to that, I know, Mr. Lush, we did receive a response now from the town of Paradise, and it's my understanding that they are going to be doing some traffic studies in that area, which will hopefully include that intersection. Is that correct?
Mr. Lush.
Yes, Your Worship, that is correct. We've received some correspondence, and actually a part of the consultation process, we're supposed to be contacted by, I believe it's AMAC Hatch, to discuss actually that intersection. They want to get St. John's involved and highways and ourselves to discuss that intersection as part of the study. Yeah,
it is a dangerous intersection. It's a good thing to get moving.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So we're glad to see there's some progress there. The next item, Your Worship, is 282, and as Councillor Walsh is not here today, that 20-minute makeover, just again another reminder, because it's actually the main, function is going to be taking place this Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m. at the Reed Community Centre, and we're encouraging as many citizens as possible to come out, and we will be providing some garbage bags and so on, and to have people come out. We will assign different areas, or they can choose some areas to do a city cleanup. And of course, the whole concept is that everybody takes 20 minutes to clean up an area, and in doing so, we help keep our city clean. And when they return, I think there's going to be a barbecue and so on, some hot dogs or whatever for the participants. So we want to encourage as many residents of Mount Pearl as possible to get out this Saturday to the Reed Centre.
Absolutely. By the way, on that note, the Deputy Mayor is going to be taking part in the challenge with the City of St. John's. I understood originally we were going to be doing this cleanup and it was going to be our council against their council sort of thing. But now it's just going to be the two mayors. Is that how it's supposed to work?
That's how it's going to work, but they're also inviting all members to come out and help out with the community cleanup as well.
Well, yeah, but I'm concerned about the challenge. We want to win the challenge.
Well, do we or don't we?
Well, yes, I'm not above cheating either.
But if we win the challenge, that means we have more mess.
If we win the challenge, it means we have more mess. What do you think, Council? That's a terrible way to look at it. What do you think, Paul? If we win the challenge, it means we were a dirtier city. Okay.
Well, I guess
right.
You could spin it.
Well, in that case,
then
I suppose we want to lose the challenge.
Well, I mean, when you're dealing with a bunch of politicians, I suspect
let
whatever
them
way
win,
it goes,
right?
the other side
He's going to spin a win.
Whatever way it works, right?
No winners, no losers.
Absolutely.
Anyway, other business arising.
Yeah.
This would be a great one.
Other business arising.
Yes. Number 308.
308.
Policy Green Initiatives. And again, for just a note for the minutes, pleased to see that in speaking with Mr. Lush that we have now developed a formal policy, and when we're purchasing any equipment, whether that be heavy equipment or even small piece of equipment like chainsaws, lawnmowers, whippersnippers, whatever, that we have a criteria in place now to ensure that that equipment is as green as we can possibly make it for the environment. So very pleased to see that. That's it, Your Worship. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Anybody else with business arising from the minutes of April 20th? Anything at all to be referenced on the action report from the meeting of the same date? Hearing none, we'll move along. Proclamations and presentations. We have a couple today. Two proclamations here. One is a proclamation regarding North American Occupational Safety and Health Week. I will read it into the record, and then I'm going to invite Councillor Lane, who is going to address us on this, given that this is his profession. He's passionate about it. So, first of all, whereas the goal of North American Occupational Safety and Health Week activities and events is to focus the attention of all stakeholders on this important topic and to educate each other with positive attitudes and behaviors at work, at home, and in the community. And whereas it is imperative that employers, employees, and the general public be aware of the importance of preventing illness and injury in the workplace. And whereas during the North American Occupational Safety and Health Week of May 2nd through to May 8th, the City of Mount Pearl will be mobilizing in an effort to increase employees' understanding of the importance of occupational safety and health, to raise the awareness of the role and contribution of safety, health, and environmental professionals, and to reduce workplace injuries and illness by encouraging new safety and health activities and interest in North American Occupational Safety and Health Week. Now, therefore, I, Randy Sims, Mayor of the City of Mount Pearl, do hereby proclaim May 2nd to 8th, 2010 as North American Occupational Safety and Health Week in the City of Mount Pearl, to which I will affix my signature, and I'm going to invite Councillor Lane to address what's going on in this particular week. Councillor?
Yes, Your Worship, thank you. Actually, the reason why I was asked to address this is because, as Chair of the Corporate Services Committee, Human Resources and hence Occupational Health and Safety would fall under that committee. That being said, I am committed to health and safety, and that is what I do for a living in my regular life. Not that this is, I guess, irregular or anything wrong with it. Although sometimes I do wonder and shake my head, but anyway.
Sometimes it can be strange.
That's true. That's true. Anyway, the City of Mount Pearl, certainly we are committed to this initiative. It's an event which takes place every year, and it's an opportunity for all organizations to reflect on health and safety in their workplace and to ensure that they are carrying out safe practices, work procedures, and that every employee goes home at the end of the day the way they came to work in a safe condition. And so we have a number of activities taking place within the City of Mount Pearl for our employees this week. We did have the kickoff on Monday, and we raised the flag. We had a number of opening ceremonies at all of our locations, the Reed Centre, here at City Hall, at the City Depot, and I know members of Council, I think Councillor Stoyles and Tessier participated in a couple of the openings, and I certainly participated in the opening at the Depot. And throughout the week we're going to be having a number of other things taking place as it relates to health and safety, things such as first aid training, information sessions on cholesterol and healthy living. There's going to be some defensive driving courses taking place for our operators at the depot, and I think they're going to be having a bunch of barbecues on Friday. So hats off to the Human Resources Department, Jennifer Rose, our Health and Safety Officer, and there's a lot of activities, and certainly the City of Mount Pearl is not beyond having accidents. We unfortunately we have been down that road in the past, and I know in listening to the media, I believe the town of Massey Drive was in the media last week, have gone to court and charged with a number of offences under the Health and Safety Act related to unsafe trenching. So certainly in the municipal world there are a lot of hazards out there, and the onus is upon us, not just as councillors but as employers in this case, to ensure that our citizens are kept safe, and we're certainly proud to do so. Thank you, Your Worship.
Here. Thank you very much. Any other comments? Occupational Safety and Health Week. I will say health and safety. I can't help it for anyone. It's Occupational Safety and Health Week, May 2nd to 8th. Thank you for those comments, Councillor. We have another proclamation to declare today. This deals with the Mount Pearl Youth Week, and I'm going to read it into the record, and then I'm going to invite Caitlin Quinlan, who is chairperson of our Youth Action Team, to come forward and say a few words. Whereas recreation benefits individuals, families, neighborhoods, and communities, and the City of Mount Pearl provides high-quality programs and leisure opportunities for residents to lead healthy, active lives through recreation and to make our community a great place to live, work, and play. And whereas there is an increasing interest in youth development through recreation in Canada that is founded on a substantial and growing body of research to support the role of recreation in the positive development of youth. And whereas Canadian youth are often unrecognized for the valuable contributions they make to communities and Canada's social, economic, and civic landscape. And whereas meaningful youth engagement through recreation emphasizes access, equity, and social justice, and leads to positive youth development. And whereas Youth Week reminds us all of the valuable contributions that recreation and parks can make to youth development, and that youth can make to community development, and further that Mount Pearl Youth Week is endorsed by the City of Mount Pearl, the Mount Pearl Youth Opportunity Fund Foundation, the Youth Action Team, and the network of agencies and individuals committed to the positive development of youth. Now therefore be it resolved that in recognition of these benefits and values, and to provide a focal point within the year for increasing awareness, that I, Randy Sims, Mayor of the City of Mount Pearl, do hereby proclaim May 9th to 15th as Mount Pearl Youth Week. I will affix my signature to the proclamation. And Caitlin, if you want to, you can come up here if you'd like and stand up here. Probably your best way to do that. And you can talk into this microphone and look at those people.
Okay.
Go ahead, Caitlin.
Okay, so first I would like to thank Miss Barbara Prenham from the Youth Opportunity Fund and Gary for all his help for making this week possible, as well as the City of Mount Pearl and Council and the Youth Opportunity Fund for providing the funds for this week. For the week from May 9th to 15th is Municipal Youth Week. On the Sunday, May 9th, we have a free teen swim at the Mount Pearl Pool between 8 and 8:50 p.m. Our big concert, which is the main event of Youth Week, is the show, and that's at the Reed Center from 9 to 10 p.m., and admission is free. We have 5 bands playing. It should be a good show. Retro Games Night is Tuesday, and that's from 7 to 10 at the Reed Center. Admission is free, and we have free food and drinks provided for everyone who comes, and that's also at the Reed Center. We'll have youth skating at Smallwood Arena between 9 and 10 p.m. on Saturday, and that also has free admission as well as refreshments of hot chocolate afterwards. We also have free walk-ons for the gym that week on Monday, Thursday, and Friday for any youth who would like to take advantage of that. We have a sports night on Monday from 7 to 10 at the Reed Center with food and drinks provided. We're going to have a hockey game on for that event. Go Wreck It will be Friday at the Reed Center. That will also have free pizza and refreshments, and that will be run by the staff at the Reed Center. Our speaker for this year is Kyle Workington. He founded an organization called Shoes for Souls, which provides shoes for children and everyone in Africa, so to prevent the spread of AIDS from needles and things like that on the ground. He's also been bringing shoes to Haiti in support of them, and he's partnering with The View and Oprah and Ellen for his project for going down to Africa, and he'll be speaking at all 4 schools. There's also the Focus on Youth Awards, which is at the Reed Center on 7 o'clock on Wednesday, May 12th, and that will be to recognize all the youth in the city for their achievements. So,
A very busy week.
yes.
Well, Caitlin, thank you very much. I'm going to give you this as well while I have you here now.
Mm-hmm.
You can take this away. Thank you. And we appreciate all the work that you're doing. Oh, well, now we're going to have to stand up now. You and I will do it like this. Look. There you go. Good photo up for Caitlin, we hope. Good? Thank you. Thank you, Caitlin, very much. And good luck with Mount Pearl Youth Week this year. Anybody have any comment or anything on Youth Week? Anything you wish to add? Councilor Tessier.
I can't have this many young people sitting in our gallery without acknowledging the fine work of the young people here in Mount Pearl. you know, we say it all the time, we brag about it all the time, that some of the finest young people in this region grow up in this community. And we're really proud of who you are, what you do, what you accomplish. And it seems like every other day there's something coming across that shows us where they're going, different parts of the world. I know, Sarah, you just got back from British Columbia and Australia. I mean, that's things like, we would have only dreamt about things like that when we were kids. So hats off to all of you for just dreaming big and making it happen.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Anybody else with a comment on Youth Week? Councillor Stoyle.
I was just going to say that I was down here for the speak off when we had Youth Week, and of course it was certainly quite good to watch all the young people give their speeches. I mean, they stand up without fear, and no doubt some of them are going to be, you know, sitting at this council someday and in our government house and MPs. And,
You mean
and
there's
in
budding
our-
politicians in that group of young
I
people
tell
out
you,
there?
there was certainly, yeah.
Smarter than that, aren't they?
Yeah, they were certainly, you know, really good speeches.
Excellent.
Each of them had certain topics to speak about.
I
and
thought,
they
how
were
many
excellent.
were, there were 10, was it 10 or 12, was it?
11. 2 boys.
11 girls.
12.
There were 12 girls and
And it was
2
guys.
boys.
Yeah. It was,
Paul, David, what's going on here?
The way it was all intended to be, sir.
What? It's the plan is the plan is working out perfectly, is it, Councillor Tessier? Well, that's very good, and I'm glad that it's going well. We're looking forward to a 2-year week with the Youth Action Team, and certainly the focus on Youth Awards is going to be bigger this year, I think, than pretty well any year in the past. There's some new things added this year as well, so it's going to be a very, very exciting night. Thank you to YAT. I can't get used to that, guys. The Youth Action Team for the great work you're doing, both for young people and for the community in general. We appreciate it. Thank you. Moving on the agenda, we're up to correspondence. And in correspondence, we have a letter dated April the 16th here. It is from Mayor Harry Hallett, and it is writing us in reference to replies from Minister Kennedy and Minister Johnson, the Minister of Environment and the Minister of Health, on the banning of pesticide motion, which of course Mount Pearl brought to the floor of the municipalities Newfoundland and Labrador. Copies of the letter in response to Mr. Hallett has been provided as well. Does anyone have a comment on that today? Basically it. We have a letter from one of our MHAs, the Honourable Member for Mount Pearl North, Stephen Kent. He's writing us really on April 26th, referencing and showing appreciation for the tremendous amount of volunteer work that is done. And this was all part of Volunteer Week 2010. Anybody with a comment? Moving along, we have a memo from Councillor Lucy Stoyles, who, of course, Councillor Stoyles serves as Avalon Director with Municipalities Newfoundland and Labrador, announcing that the guest speaker for the May 7th Avalon Regional Meeting, which is a meeting I'm assuming, Councillor Stoyles, you call as Director, is going to be Senator Fabian Manning from the Government of Canada. This is going to happen where and when?
It's going to happen at 1:30 at the information session on the highway in Bay Rapids. It's the Visitors Pavilion, and of course Senator Manning is going to come and talk about federal funding and initiatives and that, and how all the towns. So it's an Avalon meeting for any council or staff in the region. So we're hoping. The last time we had one, or the last time I chaired one, I guess was 3 years ago, and we had close to 80 people out at that time. It was one I had at the City of St. John's. But this is something that I've done as Avalon Director in the past, and it brings all the municipalities and the Avalon together. And after Senator Manning is finished, we will have a brief discussion on any issue any councillor wants to bring up, that's an issue that concerns the region.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Moving on, we're ready for community work. Well, unless somebody had a comment or anything, a question or anything on that issue. We'll move on then on the agenda. Public Works next. Councillor Tessier, if you would. And Councillor Lane, in the absence of Councillor Walsh, you will serve as the seconder on that. Councillor Tessier.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just one item, and it's more just an FYI for all of Council. A policy has been implemented by the Public Works that all new vehicles that we acquire will be equipped or outfitted with those side guards, and of course that is a result of the Jessica campaign. Young Jessica Holman Price, who of course we know was killed when she tried to save her brother from falling underneath a large vehicle. So that's just an FYI to council and to the public that all of our new vehicles will be outfitted with side guards.
So this is a program that's really taken off now.
It really has. I mean, Jessica's mom, Ms. Holman Price, has certainly been a tremendous advocate in this cause. And I know that when she came out publicly, there were other families as well that spoke out in support of this. And she certainly came to municipalities. She came to MNL a couple of years ago and spoke at our annual convention. Very passionate about what she's doing, and I guess with, certainly good purpose. So everybody's listening. Clearly we're listening. Clearly we see the need. We see the purpose of it. So, we're going to adhere to the new policy.
Absolutely wonderful, yeah.
Your
Councillor
Worship,
Stiles?
I was going to say, just last week our MP Siobhan Cody brought in a private member's bill looking for this to go all across Canada. I know that it was discussed at FCM a number of years ago. We helped sponsor that program as well, and we've supported right from the get-go. So I just wanted to say hats off to our MP Siobhan Cody.
Yeah, I don't know if council is aware, as a matter of fact, maybe you are, that in actual fact, Ms. Coleman Price and her campaign, the City of St. John's and the City of Mount Pearl joined hands on that campaign, and we helped fund a portion of that particular program, along with municipalities, Newfoundland and Labrador, that got her to the West Coast and got her to the national conference of the FCM. We championed the motion together to have the FCM endorse the policy. We were, we have a suitable reason to be a little proud that that's moving forward, and it's wonderful to see that we now are also going to be able to actually participate in it, agreeing that it's a great safety feature. Thank you for that. Anything else? That's all you've got? I'm looking at items 2 and 3.
Yes.
Right? They're all deferred? Okay, we are up to corporate services.
Community services.
No, I got corporate one. No, why? You're right. You're absolutely right. Community services it is. Councillor Lane.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
First one, Your Worship, community services. This is just a recommendation that we would provide Recreation Newfoundland Labrador with a donation in the amount of $500 to assist with a banquet dinner during the annual Arena Operators course. It was hosted here in the City of Mount Pearl. We're actually doing this after the fact, just to get the minute of council. But this event has already taken place, and I did attend the banquet on behalf of council, brought greetings and so on, and they were certainly very appreciative of it. So I would like to move that for approval.
It is moved by Councillor Lane. It's going to have to be seconded by Councillor Aker in the absence of the alternate. Any question or comment? All those in favour? Motion carried.
Okay, next, Your Worship, corporate services now.
Now we're up to corporate services.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes,
Yep,
please.
okay.
Yeah.
The first one, Your Worship, committee is recommending approval in accordance with the professional development and training policy of council for Councillor Stiles to attend the annual FCM convention being held in Toronto from May 28th to May 30th. And I so move.
Moved and seconded by Councillor Tessier. All those in favour? Contrary-minded, motion carried.
We're further recommending that approval in accordance again with professional development and training policy for our Chief Administrative Officer to attend the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators annual national conference that is also being held in Toronto from May 31st to June the 2nd. And I so move.
Moved, seconded. All those in favour? Contrary-minded, motion carried.
We're recommending to approve a $100 donation in support of the 2010 MS Super Cities Walk being held May 30th, 2010, and it's going to be held at 10 a.m. At the Reed Community Centre. Councillor Walsh will be attending this function and bringing greetings on behalf of council. I so move.
Moved and seconded. All those in favour? Motion carried.
And Your Worship, we have our amended invoices for approval on the orange sheet, totaling $484,000, $484,008.18. And I so move.
Moved and seconded by Councillor Tessier. Any questions on any of the items related 1 through to 7? From anyone on council? Any question on this? Hearing
And
none.
again,
we'll-
Your Worship, I was going to say, Your Worship, again, much of that, of course, continues to be related to the
Our
glacier
building.
expansion and so on. So,
Yeah. Yeah. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion's carried. And that's corporate services. Next we have planning and land use. Mr. Locke is not here. Mr. Aker, it's going to have to be you and Ms. Tessier. Which one of you is taking it?
Councilor Tessier is going to take this one because I wasn't at the last subcommittee meeting.
You'll reverse roles. Councillor Tessier, if you would, the planning committee report, please.
I had the pleasure of going back to planning last week.
There you go.
First item, Your Worship, is actually something for ratification. Dr. Philip Reitman came in and spoke, and he, of course, is a Holocaust survivor. And he came in and spoke at Mount Pearl Senior High on April 26th. And, you know, he's a tremendous speaker. I didn't get an opportunity to see him myself. I heard he was extremely powerful and moving and presented a message that you really won't forget in your lifetime. And we thought, what better way to educate, especially young people, about the Holocaust than to hear it from somebody who actually survived it. He was actually there. He, of course, the arrangements to have him come here were made through the Atlantic Jewish Council, and of course sometimes they request a donation of whatever can be afforded to contribute towards Dr. Reitman's expenses to be here. And I should note as well that there was no charge for anybody to go to this event. Dr. Reitman spoke free of charge. So we actually, through unanimous email consultation, are recommending ratification of the email approval of a $200 donation to the Atlantic Jewish Council, and as well as a $200 donation to contribute towards Dr. Reitman's hotel and meal expenses while he was here, and I so move.
It is moved by Councillor Tessier, seconded by Councillor Aker. Question or comment? Did any of you get to see the presentation? I wasn't there either. How did it go? I read the thing in the newspaper and whatnot and saw it.
yes, Your Worship, I did attend the presentation.
He's a pretty powerful speaker.
Yeah, I have to say, first of all, I was a little bit disappointed because I was hoping that the place would be full. But I think there wasn't a whole lot of notice. Unfortunately, it was on a short notice. And so we had to do the best we could to get the message out there. We did have a good turnout, there's no doubt. But, certainly I would have loved to see it full. In terms of the actual presentation itself, I don't know how you describe it, to be honest with you. It's certainly something that is worthwhile for anybody to see, particularly, I think, our youth. It would be a fantastic thing for them to see, just to understand, I guess, how evil, as the saying goes, evil will prevail when good people do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And the story that he told was just
Phenomenal.
heart-wrenching. And from the minute he started to speak till the minute he ended, you just couldn't keep your eyes off the man, and your ears were just perked at every single word. And what this gentleman has gone through, I don't know how a human being could go through what this man went through. And so it was a very powerful speech, to say the least. Very, worthwhile for anybody to attend. I would certainly encourage anybody, if they ever have an opportunity, to listen to him speak, because I know he's going to be speaking. He was supposed to be speaking at other venues actually around this province. I think he was going to Grand Falls and some other schools and so on. And certainly if there was an opportunity in the future to have him back again, I would certainly highly recommend it.
Thank you. We'll call the question. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. It should be noted that just for the benefit of those who follow the meetings these days particularly, an email solicitation of points of view is not a vote. Council cannot vote in that manner. So what was done here, as Councillor Tessier reported, is that there was an email that went out to all of us saying, how would we feel about doing this, because it's going to happen before the next council meeting. Everybody kind of unanimously said we have no problem with it. So that's how this gets done. And that's why it comes here today for an official public vote. All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion is carried.
Getting a feedback with our mics this week.
You're getting a feedback?
Are you hearing it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a solution. Next item, Your Worship. Choose your words
And now to the
wisely.
wrestling match.
The next item, Your Worship, has to do with Talon Energy Services. We were advised that we're in receipt of an application by Talon Energy Services to propose an interior fit-up of the completed expanse of the existing building at 158 Glencoe Drive. to accommodate a facility that prepares heavy steel for construction, including spray painting and sandblasting. This actual application constitutes the first use and interior fit-up of the building. Before that, all we have is application for the shell of the building. Because of the location of this building in Donovan's Industrial Park, the use is considered discretionary. So we went through the public consultation, and we did not receive any representation in response to the notice. So the briefing session that was scheduled for April 22nd was then indeed canceled. So as a result, let me find my goodness, planning is long. We also, of course, referred to all external and internal consultations. And as a result, we are recommending approval and issuance of a conditional development permit to Talon Energy Services to carry out an interior fit-up of the complete expanse of the existing building at 158 Glencoe Drive to accommodate a facility that prepares heavy steel for construction, including spray painting and sandblasting, subject to the conditions that are listed there 1 through 5. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Tessier, seconded by Councillor Aker. Question or comment? Hearing none. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
Next item, Your Worship, is a request for an increased fence height from a property owner on 1 Forsey Place. The reason, or the rationale that they presented for their request is that the deck of the adjoining units is well above ground level in the back, as are the neighboring two-story units. However, because of different grading and sloping, this situation is very common throughout the city of Mount Pearl, and we certainly didn't see it as rationale to go past our 1.8 or 8 meter maximum height. So we are recommending refusal of the request to the property owner of 1 Forsey Place, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. Question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
And we have a proposed rezoning at Simcoe Drive. This is the Pearlview Phase 5 portion of this particular subdivision. They are proposing an amendment to the zoning. They want to go from residential medium density to residential single unit, which would give them, of course, they would be allowed to develop the remainder of Simcoe Drive from Frobisher to Baffin as residential single units, which means no subsidiary apartments. And to provide council with the authority to consider the subdivision, an amendment to the Mount Pearl development regulations is required. We had a briefing session on April 27th. There was no objection to the rezoning itself. Therefore, we are recommending the council adopt the Mount Pearl Development Regulations Amendment number 199/2010 for the Pearlview Phase 5 Simcoe Drive Amendment, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried.
And we move the development permit listing from April 17th to April 30th.
Development permit April 17th, items 22 to 25. Anything new and unusual? Anything exciting? They're all exciting.
They're all exciting. Everything is exciting. Anything new? Oh, the satellite ambulance station.
The satellite ambulance station is there. I see there's a new
really
accounting.
exciting.
There's a new accounting office over at 1 Centennial Square.
There you go. One that's in the new building.
Yep,
That's the new building.
that's a new one. 74 Old Placentia Road. Why is that address really familiar? 74 Old Placentia Road. Roger Parsons Shop and Education Houston.
District Mall next to,
Oh, it's the Glen Hill. It's the Glen Hill. Glen Hill Plaza.
And Albert Newell's got a new used car lot. We are growing. Excellent stuff. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried.
And we have the building construction permits. Residential for this period of April 17th to the 30th is $2,656,800. Lots of new homes being constructed, if you look at the list. And we have commercial is $40,000 for a grand total of $2,696,800. And I move that these figures be adopted as they are presented.
Moved and seconded. You know what's interesting about those figures? All of these houses being built, there isn't a house listed there anymore. That's under $200,000.
It's amazing.
Not one.
That's
how
amazing.
this market is booming.
And that's only going to continue to climb.
All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. We do have a technical services report today, engineering services report. Councillor Aker, if you would.
Thank you, Your Worship. We met today at lunchtime and reviewed a request from Cardinal Homes to release the security that's held on the Pearlview Phase 2 development. City staff have gone over the development. Everything is complete. Everything's done to our satisfaction. All conditions have been met. So we'd like to release this security held based on total performance. And I so move. The amount, by the way, is $85,000.
Moved by Councillor Aker, seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Question or comment? Hearing none. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. That concludes committee reports. We're up to new business. Last week we went left. This week we go right. Councillor Aker. Nothing at all. Councillor Stoyles.
I do have a couple of items, Your Worship. Last week I went to Gander for the M&L symposium, and there was a number of items discussed at the symposium. Always great to be there representing the city and, of course, as ever on the vector. I have today, Your Worship, to present to you and the Council a number of reports that was released for the first time at that symposium. Community cooperation and regional government. There's 3 books here, which I guess none of our council has even had a chance to look at them because they were just released. I guess basically what this is where we were in the past and where we have been and where we're moving to in the future is great reading.
This was a study done by the Community Resources Council, by the Community Cooperation Council,
and under the direction of M&L
on regional government.
On regional government, and this was basically what this was is we're going to go and have some sessions now with all the councils across the province and have some studies and that. But what we wanted to do was release them at the symposium, pass them out to each councillor. So every council will be receiving one for each councillor and staff. And there's other booklets here on taxation and land use and economic development and things like that. So it's a whole bunch of, there's lots of reading for us for the next number of weeks, and I'm sure we will be discussing it as every other council in the region and in the province will be discussing it, but none of our council would have read this yet or had the opportunity to. I have, and because I was at the symposium, and so have Councillor Lane has gone through some of the booklets, and I just wanted to present them to our council so we could
I shall look
have them.
forward to it.
So I will present them to you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Councillor.
I also wanted to mention the cleanups and the bulk garbage. This is, we're divided into, I think, 5 zones. We have 4 finished, and today, when I was driving down Commonwealth Avenue and Smallwood Drive, almost everything is picked up, and it's basically started yesterday, so it's really, really good to see so much of it being picked up. Next week is the last week, and after next week, every zone in Mount Pearl will have their garbage collected. My zone is the last zone, as it happened, the blue zone next week. So anybody who have bulk garbage, we look forward to them putting it out again. I mean, we do 3 a year now, and this is the first one. Everybody will have been done. So I'm sure everybody around is good to see it out, but it's nicer to see it picked up and everything cleaned up and everything. And we didn't have too much litter this time because we didn't have too much wind and that, so it was good. And the last thing I wanted to mention is Etc. starts tonight, and I will be going tonight. And I must say, this is something that's on the go for the next several nights, and hopefully everybody in the city can get out and see it. It's been on the go for years. This is one of the shows that we look forward to.
What show are they doing this year?
Don't Stop Believing.
Yeah.
Don't Stop Believing, Fleetwood Mac. Journey? Don't Stop Believing is Fleetwood Mac. Is it?
Don't stop thinking about tomorrow was Fleetwood Mac.
Ah, okay, all right. Okay,
I wouldn't know which was which.
Paul knows his music better than me. All right,
Anyway, I'm looking forward.
that's going to be a good show, though. I would say.
I'm looking forward to being up there tonight, and hope everybody
Wonderful.
else around council can make it.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
I did want to make a quick reference to something that you did bring up, Councillor Stoyles, and that is in reference to the bulk garbage. I don't know if other members of council experienced it this time around. This was my first time, I have to say, experiencing it. But the level of, I'm going to say, complaint that I received is probably the best way to put it, over materials not being taken away. There seems to be out there, either within the zones itself or the way we're presenting our public relations piece to the city, there's a confusion about what we will take as bulk garbage and what we won't, and we seem to have managed to, in a couple of areas, been inconsistent. Where on one street, somebody's construction stuff got taken, and on another street, a guy gets a notice saying, we're not taking that, you got to put that somewhere, you know? And I just hope that before we do the next one, we'll give it a quick little review and make sure that that we're being consistent throughout. Because I'm willing to say that, now when I say, you know, I didn't have overwhelming calls, but I'd say I had 8 throughout the region, throughout the city, where we've had bulk garbage of people saying, hey, what's going on? How come mine didn't get taken and this one did? I even have a letter to that effect in one case, you know, which we'll address. So I just want us to, our Public Works Committee, if you would, just to give it a quick review with Mr. Lush and his staff to make sure that our operators and the people out there are being consistent in what we're doing, what we're taking and what we're not. We know what it's supposed to be done like, but I don't think our residents do. Anyway, it's just an observation on my part. Anybody else with a thought?
Would that information not be on our website?
I'm sure it is. I'm sure all of it is, right?
I guess, Your Worship, it's the same information that's been put out there, as near as I know, for about 10 plus years.
Forever.
I've received a few complaints, and the complaints have always been not taking away construction waste.
And that happens, and I understand. But this year, for some reason, I've had, like I say, I've had more than I'm used to. You know, you usually get 1 or 2. But this year I've had more than I'm used to get. I just wondered, did any other councillors have any? None at all? None at all? All right.
But
Maybe
we do pick up
the few
construction.
complaints are calling the mayor, and then that's it. But
We do pick up construction items if somebody is renovating themselves. We do pick them.
No.
We don't.
no. See the confusion? Right?
I-
No, we don't.
We always did in the past. Yeah.
See the confusion?
Well, Your Worship, it depends on the degree to it. If you renovate an apartment and you put everything out on the lawn, then no, they're not going to pick it up. But if there's a few 2x4s in there, an occasional door, it depends on the degree of severity, I guess. It's really, I've had residents to say that there's one here, not too far from here actually, and it looked like really was a renovation of an entire apartment. The mess on the lawn was incredible because she said, well, you will take an armoire and you'll take the fridge and stove. We will, but you have to get all the 2x4s and the gyprock and everything off of it. So it goes on to, well, you took some of my neighbor's 2x4s. Your neighbor had 1 or 2 2x4s in amongst some leaves and some metals and things. You know, so they do show a little bit of, I guess, compassion if a person puts out 1 or 2 things. That's where I think you get the impression that they're not treating everybody the same, because they show a little bit of a degree, I guess, of compassion if there's 1 or 2 items that aren't out there. But when the real abusers go out there and you do a big renovation, we can't take it. And that's where you see the rule applied hard and fast. But they do. There are some gray, I guess, and they exercise some judgment at times to say, well, the resident has 1 item out, 95% of what they have out is correct. We can accommodate that. But when you have 95% out, you shouldn't. We won't accommodate the 5% in that situation.
Well, it's just, for me, like I say, it was unusual in this experience for me to receive that many complaints about it. And it wasn't overwhelming, let's be honest, it wasn't. And nobody else has gotten any, so it's probably fairly minor. But I'll still make the request, Mr. Lush, that the committee just have a quick look at what we publish and make sure everything out there is consistent. And I appreciate that gray area does exist. I mean, we're not going to be miserable enough to leave an old storm door on somebody's lawn and drive away when that's all he had out. You know what I'm saying? I understand that. And I don't know, maybe the people that we're dealing with, all of them did renovations or something. I don't know.
Your
Anyway,
Worship,
moving
just
on.
a question.
Councillor Lane.
Yeah, just a question about it. That's all. Because I wasn't around on council when this policy was developed, I guess, in its infancy. So I'm just wondering, what is the rationale behind some of this building material? I mean, I can understand we wouldn't want someone who has a contracting business on the side deciding, I'm going to build up everything and throw it out on the lawn, and the city's going to take it away if they're running a commercial business. But let's say if I have, for example, I don't know, let's say I decide I'm going to put new siding on my shed, for argument's sake. So I tear the siding off my shed, I put on new siding, I take the siding that's there, I bundle it all together with duct tape or whatever, I put it in nice neat little piles. Like, why wouldn't we take it? I'm just trying to understand the rationale why we wouldn't take that.
And the problem that I have is that,
And there must be good reason.
apparently, your example being a good one, that it's possible that on one street it would get taken, but that another crew on another street wouldn't take it. Right? That's, the issue of construction material. If you actually tried to take everybody's construction material so that everybody renovated around the time you had your bulk garbage, I mean, we would be overwhelmed. I think it's fair to say we could never really handle that, right? But to your point, that's maybe a valid point that the committee can explore and expand. And
Yes, I can explain the rationale is that we become the judge and jury if you had a contractor not there and staff are not prepared to do that, because some people will do big renovation jobs themselves, and sometimes you'll bring a contractor in to put on a new step. So any construction debris is considered known. It just becomes too difficult to manage. It becomes a management nightmare. You said you had a contractor, your neighbors, or you say you didn't, your neighbors said you did. Like, where does it end? So somewhere the line must have been drawn. But I really can't speak to why it came about. That's my understanding of why it might be that case. Where do you make the distinction?
And that's the issue.
Well, maybe we can review the whole thing.
But I guess, yeah, it could be reviewed.
I'm sorry, Councillor Aker and then Councillor Tessier. Councillor Aker, I didn't realize I was going to start this big a discussion. Councillor Aker.
No, but that seems to be the issue, is basically when do you decide when you see a pile of renovation material, whether it was done by a contractor versus when it was done by a homeowner? They look the same, right, Councillor Lane? Right? So I guess that's the issue that you, Your Worship, want to submit to the committee for maybe a quick review before the next bulk garbage pickup.
Councillor Tessier.
What I'd like to suggest is that we'll take it back to Public Works, we'll discuss the protocol, we'll discuss even percentages of, if that's the criteria that we need to look at, the percentage of construction material versus regular bulk garbage. We also might have to look at somehow putting it out there when we put out our bulk garbage collection, and maybe it's there, I don't know, but just list the things that we do take and put the criteria there on our next bulk garbage schedule. It's not going to happen for this year, clearly, but we might be able to do a better education program for coming years.
I just want us to be aware, maybe it's new people or something, but there appeared to be an inconsistency in the pickup, and it caused my phone to ring. Let's put it that way. Anyway, thank you, Council. Thank you, Mr. Lush. Councillor Lane, moving on.
Yes, Your Worship, a couple of things. First one, Your Worship, I was speaking with our IT manager, and he indicated to me that we're really not receiving a whole lot of hits on our webcasting, which may or may not be a surprise to members of council.
But nobody knows it's out there.
Pardon?
Nobody knows it's there.
Well, and I guess that's the point I want to make, is that we did the initial launch, I guess, of the webcasting, and certainly we announced at the public council meeting, and I think it may or may not have been on VOCM, and then that was sort of the end of it. But we really haven't done anything to advertise since then that this meeting is here, and if people want to be able to view the council meetings, whether it be live or whether it be after the fact when they have an opportunity, so they can understand what's going on in the city, we can communicate better with them, well then that opportunity is there. So I'm not sure what else we can do to advertise, whether we put it something in Mount Pearl Matters, whether we put it out on on a go-forward basis every time we put out our community services brochures or program guides, or the thing we do every year about here's where your tax dollars, the community review, and here's where your tax dollars are going. Like, to advertise it at every opportunity we have, that this is available so citizens can
I think we
view
should
the
be
council
doing
meetings.
that.
So I don't know, so I would throw it out there, and I guess perhaps it would go back to my own committee, actually. Now that I think of it.
Why don't you refer to yourself?
Maybe I'll refer to myself. Note to self.
I was going to say, Your Worship, maybe one of the places we could put it is on Cable 9. They come in here several times a year and tape and tape the show and play it, and they have a lot of people watch the Cable 9 advertising, so maybe that's somewhere that it wouldn't cost us any money, and I'm sure they'd be only too glad
advertising, being a media guy, advertising costs money.
Well, Cable 9 is free for community services information, and this is community service information.
We should use anything and everything we can, including putting it in all of our publications and whatnot. I'm not satisfied yet, having looked at the reviews of our council meetings on the web. I'm not all that upset that a lot of people aren't seeing them yet, that they're not looking yet. But your point is well taken. If
well,
we're going to do it,
meeting, so please speak for yourself.
Yeah, if we're going to do it, we have to advertise it. We have, we really do. I'm talking technical, not.
I know. I'm only trying to be funny.
But I'm with you.
Okay, so we'll refer that to corporate services anyway to have a look at some ideas of how we can get that out there a little better. Next item, Your Worship, relates to property maintenance and in particular rental properties. I've had a couple of complaints starting again. Of course, we get this happening every year, where we start getting complaints about the condition of properties. And my experience has been, as I'm sure as the rest of council, that certainly a good percentage of the properties that we get complaints about wind up being rental properties. And certainly while we try to, in the event that it's the actual homeowner and there's some financial issues and so on, we try to work with that person to address these things. But certainly we have a zero tolerance as it relates to rental properties. I mean, let's face it, this is an investment. This is really no different than a business. Someone is buying a property, they're renting it in order to build up an asset to make money. It's a business, really. And we have no tolerance with it, we shouldn't. And so, I think it's important that it get out there, particularly to these people who own these rental homes, that if you have them, you are responsible for them. Doesn't matter if you have a tenant in the house and they throw garbage out, you can say, that's not me, it's the tenant. No, you own the property, you're responsible. So obviously that's something. Again, I got a couple complaints this week on rental properties, and so it's starting again. So we need to be proactive, obviously, in dealing with that.
Good point to make.
The last point I have, and I got to ask a question. Again, I've gotten a couple of complaints about cats again, and I don't know how often people get them. I know other members, I'm sure you do, but continues to be a problem. People keep letting their cats out. They think that there's nothing wrong with it. For some reason, people seem to equate with a dog. They kind of get it. Put them on a leash, have them tied on. If you're going to walk them on a leash. People still can't get over this whole idea that it's not okay to sort of let the cat out when you get home from work, and then at some point during the night when he starts clawing at the door or meowing at the window or something, let him in. It's not okay, and cats do damage to other people's property, particularly their flowers and all that kind of stuff, and they can create odors on people's property as well. So want to remind people about that. The final thing I have, Your Worship, just a question, I guess for Councillor Tessier now, or maybe Mr. Lush. We had a notice of motion, and it never came up in the report as it relates to parking on lawns. I'm just wondering why that, has that just been deferred for further information? Yeah, I know, well, you did the report, so just, it wasn't in the planning report, so I'm wondering why it was a notice of motion at our last meeting. I'm wondering where it's to.
That notice of motion was in the last meeting, but it wasn't in our planning meeting that we held last week. I actually noticed that myself when I read the minutes. I don't know why it would be, and of course our CAO is our acting planning director right now as well, so he's not here to be able to clarify that for us either. So again, I guess it is coming forward. It'll come forward.
Yeah, and by all rights, had things been working normally, it would have come forward at this meeting. But let's be honest, our planner has been off.
Well, I guess on the other side of it is
it's delayed a little bit. That's all.
The other side of it is, Your Worship. Like now, people are parking off-street parking ban or on-street parking ban is now lifted anyway, so it's probably not going to be a problem during the summer. However, it will definitely have to be in place by the time our ban comes into effect this calendar year.
Okay. Other new business. Councillor Tessier?
Stay on my feet. We're trash talking today. The eastward ramp that goes off of Ruth Avenue onto the arterial, onto Pitts. Do we know whose responsibility that ramp is? Is it Work Services? Really, really dirty. Oh, just so dirty. I went down it one day last week. It may be cleaned up by now. I'm not sure, but really untidy. And I'm not sure if other ramps are as bad, but that one in particular, I noticed it myself. It was incredibly dirty. So maybe if we might make a call just to see what the schedule is, because I'm sure everybody's cleaning up. All municipalities, everybody's cleaning up. But that one was definitely one that that caught my eye.
Is that one Councillor Walsh was asking that we contact Work Services about trying to beautify that area a little bit, because he was
the butt end area of it.
It is.
Well,
Very
I
same
tell
ramp.
ya.
That's the ramp.
The ramp itself, going down the ramp itself on both sides, just very, very untidy. Also, garbage the night before. I know that we're going to be more aggressive with it this year, but it's happening. This is the spring of the year. We're all organizing these big neighborhood cleanups, and we're really proud to do it. Everybody's, very excited, and it's a wonderful, municipally aware thing to do. However, if people continue to put their garbage out the night before garbage collection, it kind of flies in the face of our efforts, especially if, as Councillor Lane has alluded, there are cats roaming. This is also the time of the year when the rodents decide they're going to come back out and
Pay a visit. The gulls are around.
see what's going on in the world since the last snowfall. And it continues to happen. Our regulations very clearly state that garbage cannot go out before, I think, is it 7 in the morning?
6 a.m.
6 in the morning. So it's extremely important that people adhere to that regulation, keep their garbage in until the morning of collection. And again, I guess we're going to be a little more aggressive with that anyway, but it doesn't hurt to remind.
They need to know, Councillor, that they're guaranteed to get caught now. We are intending to have all of our municipal enforcement people actually patrol overnight the areas where garbage collection happens in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So if they patrol your area at 2 a.m. and your garbage is out, you're getting a ticket.
And that's,
so people out there just need to be aware that this is going to cost me $45.
Well, and it's
if they want to do it, God bless them.
It's not just the ticket itself; it's what it's doing to the neighborhood.
Well, of course,
other neighbors,
it's the mess that we're trying to avoid.
Neighbors will suffer if the garbage gets torn up, and that's not fair to anybody. And again, I also wanted to mention Etc. this week. I am an Etc. mom. I have a child who's in the performances this week, and so I know the level of commitment that goes into this show. I know O'Donnell does their show every other year as well, so it's exactly the same. I know over Easter holidays, for example, the children who are in the Etc. program didn't have Easter vacation. They spent every day and every evening in rehearsal during Easter break. Every weekend now for months, Saturdays and Sundays, they're in for rehearsal. Weeknights now as the production got closer. And of course, there are matinees every day this week and shows every night up until Saturday night. So I would strongly encourage people to get out there. I know the level of excitement is very high for the performers, and
quality is always fantastic.
They put off
a
real state-of-the-art professional show. I know people are coming in from outports to have a look at this as well. I know that I've got some family coming in as well. So I'd strongly encourage anybody in the area to come in, buy their tickets, go see the show. It's absolutely phenomenal. That's it.
Thank you. That's it, everybody. We will accept a motion to adjourn from Councillor Stalls. We stand adjourned.